Hi, I'm Vince and I'm converting this shipping container into a tiny house-style home office. And the reason is, I'm having a baby, so my current home office is turning into a nursery. I'll be teaching myself to weld and to frame out a container and to install windows and all the little aspects that go together to make this project possible. I've got no experience, I've got few skills and few tools and very little time before the baby comes. So I hope you enjoy this series. Please subscribe and like the videos if you do enjoy them, and let's get started. The first thing I had to do to start this project was actually find and choose a container, but companies in the UK don't really let you go and choose a particular or specific container. So it was actually quite difficult, and I toured 2 different container yards. Some are quite dirty and muddy, and there's some large forklifts that roll around. But I did find one company that would let me go and choose, and that was Line Containers, and that was out of their Elder Point facility up in Liverpool. And they were actually very, very helpful. I told them I was doing a video and they gave me this lovely man called Gordon to answer some questions. So I've never done anything with containers before, and doing this video series I didn't want to pretend to be an expert. So it was really useful to have the guys from Line Containers actually answer some questions, and the very first question I asked, of course, was... Gordon, what are the things that we should look for when we're choosing a container to convert?
The main things to look for is check the door seals are all intact, make sure there's no splits, it's hanging off, make sure all the hinges are all welded, no corrosion around the hinges. Open up the container, check the top rail to make sure that the sieve isn't split and all the silicone is intact. On the older containers you will get some erosion of the silicone, but just check there's no physical gap between the roof panels and the top rail. The floors, you will get some delamination and wear, but in general, because of them being 27mm ply, there will be hard wearing and you'll get good life out of them. Also, you find that sometimes when because they've been used for shipping, the locking rods get damaged,
right,
and sometimes they get bent and they will catch on the doors, so you're just making sure that the rods are fairly straight.
Okay. Anything else really to look out for?
No, other than too much severe damage to the side walls,
okay,
and the roof. In generally, then you've got a good container to last you 10-15 years as long as it's maintained.
Yeah. I tried to find a container on the yard that might be in too bad a condition to convert into a tiny house or a home office. But even this container here, which looks really beat up, the guy from Lion Containers seemed to think was absolutely fine. Like this thing here, is that still good?
That's still good, yeah.
Hey, really?
Yeah.
As we toured the yard, I tried to ask as many questions as possible about different aspects of a container and what we should and shouldn't worry about, and Gordon gave some really great answers. These sections of rust here and stuff, there's some dents and some rust and some bubbling from the rust. Would this cause you any concern?
Not at all.
Not at all.
What I'll do is probably just rub down any severe rust spots and just put some primer paint on.
Cool. And at what point do you reckon damage is too much for someone to take it on as a conversion?
When the panels are too far damaged, being bulges in the side, because you'll never straighten them and it'll never look right if you're going to keep the exterior aesthetics.
Yeah.
Unless you're cladding it, then you won't see any damage like that.
And if you're cladding it, if there's a bit of rust, is that an issue?
No, you just you cover it with some primer or a coat of paint, and you know, because the corten steel, they're designed to rust anyway, so it won't affect the life of the container.
Yeah. And what about on the roof? That's a bit different, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, on the roof, you just check that the corrosion hasn't gone too far. If it has, you probably have to look at possibly welding a patch on over the top to extend the life of that area. That repair has been done to IICL 5, which means it's been repaired to shipping standards, so the container can be used again for shipping purposes.
Okay. Is it a bad thing to buy a container for conversion with repairs?
Not at all, as long as the repairs have been done to a good standard, which, you know, this is fully welded, it's not showing any signs of leaking. So as long as a good standard repair, which to IICL 5 is, then there's no problems with it at all.
Cool.
If you get any severe dents in the corner post, then I'd look at it, because it will cause distortion for keeping the container level.
Right.
It will deflect the corner castings. Other than that, you know, it's the most solid part of the container,
yeah,
and it's where all the weights are transferred.
So we shouldn't be scared of lots of rust that we see here and stuff?
No, that's where it's been lifted on and off the boats by the forklifts on the spreaders.
cool. So after asking every question I could possibly think of, it was now time for me to go and have a look and choose a container for myself. And this is the container I actually chose in the end. So most container yards in the UK won't let you choose a container. They just say if you're buying a 20 foot, we'll send you the next 20 foot on the stack. Is that pretty common all over in the UK, or?
It is common in the UK, down to the sheer fact of space and volumes of containers in the depots.
Yeah.
We're quite fortunate with the depots we work with that we get images of the containers when they come in, and they will allow us to send people in to look, and if they choose one they will pick them out for us.
So although every company seems to charge pretty similar rates, this is the main reason why I ended up going with Line Containers, but there was also another big advantage. Line Containers do a 2-year warranty, don't they?
On a used container, yes.
Yeah. So the checklist of items to look out for when you're choosing a container is check out the door seals, make sure there's no excessive sidewall damage, make sure the locking bolts are nice and straight, make sure there's no roof rust, and the corner posts are in reasonable condition. Check the floor for any delamination, check the welds on the hinges to make sure they're solid and sound, and check that the top rail silicone is in good condition. So that concludes the first video in this series. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel for future updates. And if you've got any questions or comments, please pop them down in the comments below. In the next video, I'm having the container delivered and moved onto my property, which was a hell of a challenge. And I also wanted to tell you just briefly that after I paid full cash price for the container, we did agree a sponsorship deal. I've since decided to pull out of that sponsorship deal just to make sure that I can keep things impartial, but I just thought I should let you know about that. Now with that said, I would wholeheartedly recommend Line Containers as a choice for someone doing a container conversion in the UK. They were actually genuinely fantastic. And the reason I decided to pull out of the sponsorship deal was more about creative control rather than their service and their products. As part of the agreement, they did also provide a lot of help and advice and a bit of video content as well, so you will see more from them, but it isn't on a sponsorship basis from this point forward. But for now, thank you for watching and please do subscribe. I'll be teaching myself to weld, I'll be insulating the container, I'll be installing windows, I'll be framing the container out, I'll be cutting all of the openings and the holes, leveling the container. There's a lot that goes into this conversion and I've done very little of it before. So thank you for watching, please do subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.